What's good, people? V&V Podcast, me, Rory Spooner, James Veck and Reese Henley, and you know we're back with all the news and the views. Just a big shout out initially to all the subscribers over the past few days. We've had 20 plus subscribers, and it's really blown us away, the amount of views as well, especially on the Thomas Partey video. So big up to everybody that's helping us reach 1,000 subscribers. That's the next aim, and 100,000 views. So gents, we'll get straight into it. Plenty of news to get on with and discuss. The first one is Nathan Ake. Now, with Nathan Ake, I wanted your opinion on his transfer. I think we'll all sit here and say he's a decent little player and he'll enhance most of the top six. I think the main question a lot of people had was, one, the transfer fee, and two, the fact that him and Laporte are essentially being played in the, or players that play in the same position. What was your take on the signing initially for City, lads?
Well, I don't really understand it. It's £40 million, which, given the current climate and the fact that City are a bit under a microscope at the moment, would seem a lot of money, especially for a player who's not a very tall centre-half. Yeah, he's a ball-playing centre-half, but he's been playing in a struggling Bournemouth side. He's failed to really command that defence at all this year. It's a defence that's only managed to help a team get 34 points in the league. They've conceded 65 goals, and City want to go ahead and put him in a championship winning team. I don't understand it. Obviously, they don't want him to start, but he's a better contender than what they have at the moment. So if the season starts tomorrow and they sign him, he's going to have to start, but he's not good enough.
Yeah. The impression I got with City, especially Reece, looking on Twitter, is that they aren't done in terms of their business yet, looking for centre-halves. There's a lingering rumour, and it just doesn't go away, about Koulibaly. And it's like you said, Reece, Ake's a good player. And if you said to me Ake was going to an Arsenal or Spurs, I'd be like, that's a good move for them. It's a good look, because he'd be better than what's there. Is he better than John Stones? If you have a fully fit, focused John Stones, he's a good player. Like you said, Reece, Ake just got relegated with Bournemouth. He brings something to that squad, but I think he is going to be back up for Laporte. I just don't see how they both play in the same side consistently. I think that there is another big transfer on the horizon for City, and I think it'll be Koulibaly. What's your take there?
Yeah. Would it be right in saying that Ake and Laporte are both left-sided centre-halves?
They are indeed, right? Yeah, they are indeed.
So I'm pretty sure that Ake isn't bought in mind to him play alongside Laporte. It wouldn't make too much sense. And again, like Reece kind of mentioned, that the transfer itself doesn't make a lot of sense to me for a couple of reasons. So firstly, like he mentioned, financially, they are under the microscope, and obviously they do need to be a little bit careful. So spending £40 million on someone who is essentially going to be most likely a backup seems a little odd to me. And like you say, is he better than John Stones on his day? Some would argue. Is he better than Otamendi? And then they've got obviously Garcia there as well. So if I was City and I was going to sign a centre-half, Ake wouldn't have been on my list, right? And we all say this time and time again about levels. And the level that he's currently at is a totally different level to what City are at and are aiming to get back to. And, can people elevate their level and performance? Yes, they can, and they have done. But it's a big ask for someone like Nathan Ake. He's scrapping at the bottom of the league, conceding 65 goals, and they've done that pretty consistently the last few seasons as well. To be called upon and just raise his game a lot for Premier League and possibly Champions League. Will they have the ball more? Yes. Do they get ripped open as often as Bournemouth City? No, obviously not. But it doesn't make a huge deal of sense to me, and I think it's quite a large sum of money to spend on someone like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, lads?
And also as well, from a City perspective, he doesn't appear to show any leadership traits. And with regards to where City need to be and where they are, I think there was a 20-point gap between Liverpool and Man City last year. And they've got to sign players that are going to narrow that gap, if not eliminate that gap altogether. and he isn't one. Chelsea didn't want him, and Chelsea have some of the top scouts, and only the best young players make it at Chelsea. And they didn't want him. So why does City want him? It doesn't.
Yeah, Guardiola's judgment on defenders is a little bit out still. When you look at the money he spent, there was a stat, I think it's around 400 million. Ake definitely adds something, but I'm with you, lads. I'm not sure what it is yet. And I think price-wise, Bournemouth will be coming away from that thinking, yeah, we've done all right from that, in fairness.
Yeah. I don't think Ake adds enough of what they need at this time. And with Guardiola, he has a mixed track record in terms of, so he can sign a player like Ake, and there's been examples of where he's signed players or put players in positions and they've become fantastic. But then there's examples of where it hasn't quite worked out the same way. So maybe Guardiola has got a plan for him. Maybe he wants to work him in somewhere, and I'm sure it looks like we're going to see. But it was definitely question marks from me for that one.
Yeah, well, the only thing I can think is if he is a left-sided centre-half and so is Laporte, and they're very similar play styles, then they're perhaps looking at it as an emergency plan B for if or when Laporte becomes injured again.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think that's exactly the way I saw it. I didn't look at that purchase and think that's a guy that's going to start every week. I just have a feeling that Koulibaly is just going to end up at Manchester City. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling I have. I think they need to make a statement. They need a big name signing to replace Vinny Kompany. I think that'll be Koulibaly. I think we may even see Eric Garcia go. There's a lot of talk about Barcelona coming back in for him. And again, sorry, Russo.
They need a centre half as well. So
yeah, it could well happen. But we'll keep you posted on the developments, people. But Ake is firmly going to Man City for the time being. As of this video, nothing's signed and sealed yet. But it's definitely in the works. Going back to some other transfer news, one that was very interesting is Willian. Now, Willian seems like he's on his way to Arsenal. There was a lot of talk that the two Manchester clubs had come in and offered, some sort of contract for him, but I think he quite likes living in London, and obviously Arteta's made quite a big impression over the past few weeks as well. So, Willian to Arsenal, what are we saying, lads? Do you think that's a smart little sign-in for them in the short term?
It could be, yeah. The whole signing itself with Willian maybe going from Chelsea to Arsenal, I would be intrigued to see if they did that deal. I know Chelsea and Arsenal have sort of swapped players a little bit in the past, but I would like to think that someone like Frank in Chelsea would be reluctant to offload him to a rival, especially a geographical rival as well, not just where they are on the table. Would he benefit Arsenal's front three? I mean, yeah, he probably would. And Willian, you can argue, when we spoke about him in our top 10 Brazilians of the Premier League videos, I think he was quite high up on the list, second.
He was indeed, yeah.
He's a very solid player, Willian. You know that you're going to get decent performances year round from him. He will score you goals and he will get assists. He's never been in that world class category, but he's always been he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a very good player.
And I can't see that being a bad signing for Arsenal. I just would be surprised if they were to let him go to Arsenal, if I'm honest.
Well, I think am I right in thinking Willian would be going on a free, or am I mistaken?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so if it's a free transfer, then basically Arsenal don't have to pay a transfer fee. They might give him a decent signing on fee, and wage-wise, then they can kind of give him the contract and sort of the money that he wants. But I think in the short term, it's a good little signing for Arsenal. He adds some experience to the squad. He's a very good player. I still think he's got a couple of years left in him. And basically what it does, lads, is it frees up the budget for other areas. So you get another body in with some Premier League experience, and it allows you to then invest in other areas.
Yeah.
Look, I think if you rewind this about 2 minutes, I think you could probably see the reaction that every Arsenal fan will have if they sign Willian, and that'll be everyone just going, sure, because if they get him on a free, brilliant. Anything below 20 million, brilliant. He's going to want large wages.
He is.
It's the right time for him to leave Chelsea, I think. Chelsea are signing young attacking players. And he was in good form at the end of the season, enough to get a move to a decent club. He is at the end of his, I would say, prime. Willian doesn't really appear to have had a prime, I don't think. I think he's just been consistently good. But I do foresee there being quite a sharp decline in his form. All that being said, I think that there's a lot of hype over Saka. And I don't think he's quite ready yet. So they will need someone in as a wide player. I don't think Pepe has been impressive at all. And I don't think he's been at all consistent. So unless he can improve his second season in the Premier League, which we do see, they will need to get someone who can do the job. To be honest, if Arsenal want to be improving, then they need to strengthen in other areas. And if they can pick up free signings like Willian, great. And the fact that he snubbed Spurs once upon a time will be something that I'm sure he'll be made to be welcome because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, is it a good signing? Maybe. Yeah. If it's on a free, then yeah, okay. But I wouldn't say it's anything to be overly excited about, as I don't foresee him having much left to offer Premier League clubs.
Yeah. The other good thing about a Willian, for example, is that he is proven Premier League quality. He's tried and tested in the Premier League. It's not like they're spending money on someone from abroad in a different league and they're wondering, if he can do it in the Premier League. Yeah, he is coming towards the sort of the end of his sort of better years. But if he was to go to Arsenal, it wouldn't surprise me if he just did good. He just did well for them, going from one Premier League team to another, similar sort of areas of the table. I can't see him being a bad signing. I just don't know if he's a brilliant signing. Do you know what I mean? I think he's just, like Reece said, he's like, yeah, okay, we'll take him.
I think he'll be a decent little signing, lads. I generally do. I think he's very low risk. Obviously, wage-wise, he's going to be on quite a high wage, but it's only for a short contract. It's not going to be the end of the world. I think he'll bring a bit of leadership. I think he'll bring, like you said, Premier League experience. I think a lot of the youngsters that are there, your Willocks, your Nelsons, your Sakas, that's a professional you can learn off, someone you can watch, someone who can help guide you. I think it'd be a smart piece of business from Arsenal. Yeah, I do. So, yeah, the Willian situation, again, we'll keep you updated on it. By all accounts, it's due to go through over the next few days. Nothing confirmed as of yet, a bit like Ake, but yeah, we'll keep you all posted. Moving on to another big bit of transfer news. The piano player, the dog-loving Chilean piano player himself, Mr. Take the Money and Run. My God, fuck me, Alexis Sanchez. Right, lads. Where do we even start with this guy? Because as a United fan, mate, like it's. I thought Di Maria was bad, right? This is a whole other level. Like I had such high hopes for Sanchez, and I don't even know where did it go wrong, lads. Initially, give me your thoughts on it.
Well, for my opinion, I did think when United signed Sanchez, I didn't think it was a great signing. I didn't think he'd fit into the team the way he would need to. Going back 2 or 3 years, United were not a good attacking team. And really speaking, they've only really hit form as an attacking team within the last few months. And so if we go back 2 or 3 years when Sanchez was the player that United fans were hoping would be a revelation, I think that the team wasn't ready for attacking football. There was a lot of players struggling. I think the only player really of any note that hadn't struggled at United since Alex Ferguson was probably Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So it wasn't just Sanchez. I mean, look at Lukaku. United pretty much finished Lukaku's career as well.
Well, in fairness, Lukaku's thriving now in Inter as well. He's not doing too
so is
bad.
Ashley Young. You know, there's lots of players who have left Manchester United and gone on to do better things again. Look at Memphis Depay. Look at Di Maria. So, yes, Sanchez is a bit older now, and he doesn't have what he had when he was younger. But there's a good player in there. It really is. But it just wasn't the right time and the right place for him at Manchester United.
Yeah,
It didn't work.
I agree. Mate. It seems like Italy's like a spiritual home for him as well, almost. He seems very settled there. I don't know what it is about Italy.
And you know, I can understand why United fans would harbour some sort of resentment. But for sure, he is doing a great job in Italy now.
Yeah, he is. He's doing a great job since the lockdown. What do you think, Becky? Do you think it's a decent signing for Inter, given the money that they're going to have to pay?
Yeah, what is the reported fee that they're going to have to pay for him?
Well, what I've read is that basically United are going to let him go for free, but Inter are going to take on his wages. So United will essentially save the best part of 50 to 60 million by letting him go. So they've said to Inter, basically, don't pay us a transfer fee. We'll let him go for free. We'll obviously negotiate the end of the contract. And Inter, for the first season he's going to be there, starting this coming season, I believe, they're going to pay him 390 grand a week, at which point it gets smaller then, I think, as the contract goes on.
Yeah.
But it's still a massive sum of money for someone who has been relatively inconsistent over the past 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah. So it's a well-needed move for, I think, from United's perspective and Sanchez's perspective, because he's almost like the forgotten man. He's on our wage books with that amount of money going to him every week, and getting nothing for it. So it is about time that he was moved on. Still a massive sum of money, and obviously that those wages now can be allocated elsewhere. My opinion on the whole Sanchez signing: sometimes in life things just don't work out
it's true, bro.
as much as you want them to. The question marks are there when we were signing him, and how will he fit in? Where will he play? Will he suit our play? And at the time, I think I speak for 95% of Man United fans, we didn't care.
Didn't give a shit.
Didn't care. We loved the fact that we'd stolen him from City. Whether we were his preferred destination or not, we'd pinched him off them because we'd offered more money, which is ridiculous. And we just thought, he's that good in his prime, he'll work, he'll fit. And he didn't. He didn't at all. He didn't really get off to a great start. Then he had niggly injuries, and then obviously everything was stacked against him then because he played X amount of games, he'd hardly scored any goals. He wasn't starting regularly, and then I think from there it all went downhill.
It did.
So yeah, like Reece said, it probably wasn't the right time, and we all just hoped that it was, or hoped that he, like a Bruno Fernandes, obviously different positions, would kickstart something again. And he just didn't. So I don't resent him. I wish it worked out. But like you say, he has history in Italy, and he seems to be sort of settling in at Inter now. So I wish him the best.
Yeah, same. Yeah, he doesn't come across as a bad character. I don't think United fans will ever dislike him the way they do with Di Maria. But yeah, it just didn't work out. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
Moving on, gents. Other big news, obviously, Eddie Howe has left Bournemouth. We did our Bournemouth versus VAR or versus Hawkeye video last week. For all you Bournemouth fans out there, make sure you go check it out. He really did turn water into wine. I mean, he took them from nothing to something, and they kind of like just came to the end of the road of that relationship. You know, like any good relationship, nothing lasts forever. And where do you see him going next, lads? Do you think he's earned him? Has he realistically earned a top 6 move? Because we were talking about this before on the podcast, and we said, oh, he could definitely go on and manage a top 6 club. Should someone take a chance on him?
Yeah, absolutely should. I think if you look where Bournemouth were when Eddie Howe took over, I think they were something like 8 or 9 points adrift of safety at the bottom of League 2. And he has single-handedly turned them around, and he's had to develop a team to bring them up a division, and then improve the team, and then develop a new team, and eventually got them to a Premier League, miraculously. And then he had to develop a team and make them a team that can stay in the Premier League. And he did all of that successfully without changing their philosophy of football. And that philosophy of football is an attacking brand. Now, yeah, of course, Bournemouth have had an awful defensive record throughout the Premier League, not just this season. But you can't afford to be kicking coaches out that have an attacking brand of football. You're never going to go through a championship season without conceding goals. But if you're a championship team that can go and score 100, then you're going to go and get promoted. And Eddie Howe has got pedigree for that. So it's a real shame that they departed on mutual terms. And the fans are obviously heartbroken as well because they loved him. It's very similar to what happened with Roberto Martinez. He deserved a top job based on what he did with Wigan and Swansea. And now he's the manager of Belgium. Do I think Eddie Howe will drop to the Championship? Absolutely not. I think he'll go to the first Premier League club that will take him.
Could you see him managing abroad as well, lads?
No. Maybe one day. I can't see at the moment. Like Reece said, I don't think he's going to be particularly short on offers in the Premier League because there will be movement. If it's not straight away, one of the teams that come up, for example, could get off to a shocking start, and he could come in there. But when you asked about it, should a top 6 club take a chance on him? I'd answer that in sort of 2 parts. Yeah, I think that they should, and he is worth taking a chance on because he's earned it. Would he be able to turn that into a good decision? Being successful is another thing, isn't it? Because you take someone who's done well with smaller things and smaller teams in smaller leagues, and you put them up against the best, and where they have a lot of money to spend, and then that's when it gets difficult, isn't it, to try and stick in with that lot then. But I think he'll be a Premier League manager next season. One thing I sort of Eddie Howe and Bournemouth related, I don't know if you guys have seen it, seen it on Twitter, rather than Sky Sports, is Eddie Howe's left and there's a vacant manager's position at Bournemouth. I saw some talk about how Steven Gerrard should maybe consider the Bournemouth job.
Oh, okay.
And how they were talking on Talksport about not how Bournemouth isn't a bigger club than Rangers, but it is a bigger job on his hands getting Bournemouth back in the Premier League than what he would have getting Rangers to the SPL. They would enhance his CV more if you could come into a club like Bournemouth and get them back. What is your kind of take on that? Do you think that would be a good move for Gerrard?
Well, for a start, any manager coming into that Bournemouth job doesn't know what they're walking into. It's really hard to go into a job with a vision when you don't know what players you're going to retain. So I think they would need to make assurances about what players they're going to keep and what budget there would be available. At the moment, it doesn't look they've lost anyone, which is obviously massive news. I know that we said that Ake might leave, but at the moment they haven't lost anyone. There are a few key players they do need to retain, but would it be a good move for Steven Gerrard specifically? I would say not at the moment. I think that if he can get Rangers to the title, then he'll be the guy who knocked Celtic off their perch. I think we'll all admit that it's a bit of a farmers' league in Scotland, and that he will need to move away from Scotland in the future to be able to establish himself as a top coach if he ever becomes a top coach. But I don't think he'll want to do that in the Championship because many a coach has tried that, failed, and then they fade off into obscurity. He will be looking for a Premier League job, ideally a top job with Liverpool probably in the future, because that's where his ego's at. I don't think you'd have, with respect to Frank Lampard, I don't think you'd have one of the all-time Premier League best players going and managing a Barnsley.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, lads. I think that Gerrard is primed for that Liverpool role. I think Klopp, he has a few years left in him. Once he's done, they'll automatically default to Gerrard just to try it. Gerrard will look at Zidane, he will look at Lampard, and he'll look at players that were top class players back in the day and what they've done at clubs, and I think he'll go, yeah, you know what, I can do that. Yeah, why not? Give me the Liverpool job. So I think that's what he'll do. I think with Eddie Howe as well, moving forward, if I was him, I'd spend a year or two abroad. I don't think there's going to be loads of Premier League jobs coming up anytime soon. Wolves have got a decent manager. Ancelotti's spending money at Everton. Arsenal have a new manager. Spurs have Mourinho. Again, if he's happy to take a sabbatical, then fair enough. But don't forget as well, Pochettino's waiting in the wings too for a job. So I don't know if he'd necessarily get a top job straight away with Eddie. But
I don't think he would get a top job straight away, Eddie Howe. But like I said earlier, with the Premier League, it's so unpredictable. You look, coming up, 10, 15 games into next season, anything could happen. There could be
there'll be at least one
sack the manager.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't think him looking to go abroad would be a bad decision. I just don't think he will.
Yeah. No, that's true. Fair enough. That's good. Some good answers, lads. I think it'll be interesting to see how his sort of career, the next chapter, pans out. And with Stevie G as well, we'll keep you all posted on him too, because he's certainly going to have some interesting developments over the next few years. Going on to the Champions League and the Europa League, some of the football that we love is back. What are we saying then, lads? So the games themselves, I believe they're finishing off. And correct me if I'm wrong with this. They're finishing off the current games or the current ties that are there. And am I right in thinking they default then into one-legged games, or am I mistaken?
They do, yeah, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, obviously the ties that aren't finished have to have the second leg complete.
Yeah.
Then, they do go into single round knockout, single leg knockout, which is interesting, isn't it? It's a dynamic that we've just never really seen.
Proper knockout football.
So it's proper cup football now, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think Chelsea have got to play their second leg, but I'm sure we'd all agree it'd be a bit of a miracle if they overturn that.
Yeah, I think Bayern have that.
And it's in Bayern as well, isn't it? So,
yeah.
I can't. Is it just them that have got to play another leg? There might be one or two others, but
there's City and Madrid. City and Real have to play. So they've got theirs. That'll be a great game. And
so. What are your thoughts then on the main contenders for the Champions League? First of all, and if you're feeling brave, just go for one.
Well, do you know, though, I was thinking this yesterday. The one team I would really like to win it, just from an emotional lens, because there's three players I'd like to see pick up the trophy. Is Juventus.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Ramsey win a trophy. I think that would just absolutely justify his move, even though he's won Serie A. I think that would justify it. There's Buffon. I'd love to see Buffon win it. He seems like a fucking great guy, and he's been around at Juventus forever. He's literally hung around for years just to try and get a Champions League trophy. So let him run off into the sunset with a medal. And then obviously Ronnie.
Ashley, sorry for him, Ashley Young, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ronnie, I think he'd cement his legacy completely if he won 3 Champions Leagues with 3 different clubs.
Yeah.
I think it's a tough one this year for several reasons. City aren't strong, just because defensively they're not strong. Real Madrid have just won the title, but are not strong. They're not a great attacking team this year. Then there's Bayern Munich, who by far and away are the best team this year, who will be going into that tournament not having played for a month and a half. So
PSG
could be rusty. PSG again, same as Bayern Munich. They won't have played for a month and a half. Yeah. I don't think they're quite strong enough to win it in any circumstance.
Mbappe is injured as well. I saw there's a pretty bad tackle on him, so that's a big loss.
But Barcelona, if they need to overcome Napoli first, as that they were being pushed by Napoli in the first leg of that time. But Barcelona in cup finals, they're pretty dependable in a one game shootout.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you've got Messi in a 1 game shootout, anything can happen. As long as you have a decent 90 minutes, you've got a good chance.
Yeah,
like against Liverpool last year, they blew them away. I don't know what happens after the first leg, but that's where they fall.
What sort of stadium does he just go with, like whatever team comes out the hat first? That's who stadium.
I actually don't know.
It's been played in Portugal. All the games.
Oh, it is it?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was the Europa League, so it is the Europa League and the Champions League then.
Yeah, for For teams that aren't that great defensively, like a City, like you mentioned, Reece, it being a one-leg game could be brilliant or awful, couldn't it? Because like City can defensively be good if they're on a good day where where they've got everyone fit and they're playing keep ball. So you could be on it for that game and you could get a great result, knowing that you haven't got a second leg to deal with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the opposite can happen where it could go tits up, and you could want the second leg. Do you know what I mean? But there is no second leg, so.
Yeah,
I prefer the idea of a one-legged tie, lads. I won't lie to you. I think sometimes, all right, the two-legged ones, it has its intrigue, the way goals and the way teams set up. But the one-leg, proper knockout football.
See, I disagree. I love two-leg ties. I mean, for no other reason than you get more football to watch, essentially. But what a two-leg tie does avoid is a team coming and parking the bus.
Yeah, because of goals.
That can't happen in a two-leg tie. So I hope we don't see any of that. Not that we should from any of the big teams. For me, I wouldn't be surprised to see Barcelona win it if they can get past Napoli. Just based on the fact that Bayern haven't played for a month and a half.
Yeah.
Because in the normal circumstances, I think Bayern would take it.
Yeah. They will obviously be extremely fresh. Obviously, they might be a bit rusty, but freshness does come with that as well. I agree with Spooner. I would love to see Juve win it, not even just to do with the players that are in their team, but also they've come so close so many times over the last few years, and it'd just be nice to see them get over the line.
Yeah.
That would be my sort of dream pick, but I do think Bayern will win it. I do, really do.
I'm kind of with you on that, bro. I think
Man City.
I think again, I'm with you, Vicky. I would love Juventus to win it, but I'm gonna if I had to pick an outright winner, you'd be hard pressed to look past Bayern.
I can't see Barcelona winning. I agree what you're saying, Reece. You can't write them off because they're Barcelona and because it's Messi. But from what I've seen of them this season, which isn't loads, but when I have seen them, they've been pretty underwhelming in many areas. And against the best of the best, could they, beat Napoli and then take a big scalp? Yeah, probably. But I just don't think it'll go the whole way. I don't think they've been anywhere near consistent enough to do that.
All right, cool. So winners-wise then, are we all saying Bayern?
I'll put my neck out. I'll say Barcelona if they get past Napoli.
Yeah,
all right, cool. Bayern. All right, cool. We'll go. Me and Becky will go Bayern. Reece will go Barca. Juventus will end up winning it. There we go. That's fine. Moving forward then.
RB Leipzig.
Yeah, exactly. Europa League, lads. Now, a different kettle of fish in the sense that the names in there aren't necessarily as glamorous. I don't think any of us are anticipating LASK, the Estonian painters and decorators, overturning a 5-0 lead and going on to, a 5-0 deficit and going on to glory. But moving forward with the Europa League, what are you saying, lads? Because United are obviously the favourites, but Inter would be a close second. Do you have any particular picks that you think or players from the Europa League that you're looking to stand out?
Well, I think Wolves, for example, we can't write Wolves off.
I'm writing them off now.
They're more than capable of beating Manchester United.
No, they are. I just don't think they will.
And if we're counting Manchester United as a favourite, then you've got to put them in the mix. I think will Manchester United go all out for it? Is the question that we ask. Or will they use the tournament to play Dan James and other players that aren't good enough? I think Inter have qualified for the Champions League in their domestic league. Manchester United have qualified in their domestic league. Well, I suppose you've got a few teams in there that haven't, but I mean Wolves would be the team for me that would seem most incentivized.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is that there's two ways to be looking at this now from a Solskjaer perspective or a United perspective, and like Reece just said, and it's the question that I was going to ask. Now that Champions League qualification is a dead cert, it's not even that they're fourth and they have to do a qualifying round. They're in the group stage. Are they going to make a run at this Europa League with the same sort of focus now as they would have had they not made the Champions League? If you look at when Mourinho won the Europa League because we finished outside the top four, that was the later focus. But now, on the flip side of that, Solskjaer will want the trophy. You know what I mean? So He's seen Arteta taste a trophy now, and he's probably going to think, I'll have some of that. And it's always getting that first trophy out of the way from a manager as inexperienced as him would be really good. So they obviously are one of the favourites, but we mentioned Wolves and Inter. You look at some of the other big teams in there, right? And you've got Roma, Leverkusen, Sevilla,
Wolfsburg, a decent side.
Wolves, Inter, Shakhtar Donetsk. Like, you would expect someone like United and Inter to beat those in their day, but teams like Roma and Leverkusen, you can't underestimate those sides.
Not at all.
They're very decent sides, and if you take them lightly, especially over one game perhaps, then more fool you. So I don't know if I'd even go to say that United are now the favourites. On paper they are. I just don't know how they're going to approach it, really.
Yeah, I think they'll approach it with a seriousness that they want to win it. I think, do you know, in this country, and sometimes it's a little arrogant of us, we look at the Europa League and we kind of look down on it. We look at it as a bridesmaid instead of the bride. It's a runners-up prize. And on the continent, they really value that trophy. It means the world to a lot of players and a lot of clubs. It's a big part of their history. They really look forward to playing in it. And I think whoever United face it when they get past last, because they will, they're going to have a game on their hands. They're really going to have to show up and show out. And I don't think Solskjaer's going to go, you know what, lads, just take the next 5 weeks off. I get that he's going to have to rotate because it's going to pretty much run into the start of the season almost, or very close to it. But I think United will go all out for it. I could very much see United winning it.
The thing is as well, if you look at form, if you'd have asked me when we were blowing teams away up until the last 3 games of the season, I would have said, I completely see how we could win it quite comfortably. But after watching them against Southampton, West Ham and Leicester, they did really labour over the line, United, into third place. Which almost, like, when you see they were the third best team on paper in England and you saw the season they had, it almost just doesn't make sense, but it did. So if they play like that, if they get drawn against a Roma or a Sevilla or a Leverkusen, someone like that, then they're in big trouble.
Yeah, I think the rest would have done them good, though. I think the rest for United and Wolves as well would have done them real good. That
Rangers, don't forget Rangers.
That sort of 10-day, 2-week rest period where, you have players like a Bruno Fernandes and a Paul Pogba. They'll be going in potentially almost 3 weeks without playing. So that rest really would have done them the world of good. But what's your take on it, Reece? If I said to you, pick a winner now, who are you picking?
Well, we know that Manchester United are going through. So obviously, they're one of the teams that we know are going to make it in the quarterfinals. Do I think that their form is going to be eliminated? Not just by the fact that they've had a few weeks off, but also I think that they will play players like Fred, McTominay, Dan James, maybe Diogo Dalot, Brandon Williams, other players that perhaps wouldn't get into your first team. I think they'll play those and eventually they'll slip up. And over one game, 190 minutes, it could happen that anyone could knock anyone out.
Yeah.
If I had to call it, I'd say Inter. But then I wouldn't be surprised to see a Leverkusen or a Wolves win it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Manchester United win it. My gut just says they won't.
Okay. So Reece is sitting on the fence there then. Becky, what are we saying? Who are you going for?
It's a difficult one. No, go on. I'll bite to it. I'll go United.
Same.
I will.
Same. United and Bayern. Yeah. All right, cool, gents. Right, Europa League wrapped up. Champions League wrapped up. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we round this off then, lads?
No, we're all good.
No,
yeah, we're all good. Just again, a big thanks to everybody that's obviously subscribed over the past few days. I think in the past 48 hours, we've had, at least 22 new subscribers. Thousands of views now every week. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and better and better. Hopefully, again, we'll have some more guests coming on shortly. We are trying to get in touch with people and obviously do our research to see what we can do. So fingers crossed we can bring some more content from that respect as well. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. The road to 1,000 subscribers continues. Again, add us all up on the social media platforms. As you've seen from the YouTube comments, we're always happy to chat with people and discuss what we put out. And that is it. That's it from us. We're done till next time, people. Take care. Ciao.